Mania Julius Edi kind I'm say I shall say Edi yeah Kasana Edi kind. Now so Ghana as 70. I'm sure like I say President incoming President Ala Yasi the national good morning.
Good morning.
Your
Welcome.
Excellency. And then good morning to you gentlemen. And then my own, my niece, Joyce. Your Excellency, I'm here this afternoon together with my team, first to congratulate you and to commend you for your emphatic victory in the just ended general elections. It is clear from the results that you put in a lot of effort and you've been handsomely rewarded in that regard. I'm sure many Ghanaians are not aware that although we belong to different political persuasions, that we've had very good fraternal relations for many years, based on mutual respect and shared common values, and indeed also our commitment to serve our nation in humility. I am aware that you've already had the opportunity and privilege of occupying the high office of President of our country. And so you are already keenly aware of the demands of this job. However, as a brother, maybe I should use this opportunity to offer a little bit of advice. The Movement for Change and the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, we campaigned on two fundamental themes. One is the establishment of a government of national unity, and the other one is the prosecution of a national development agenda based on the Great Transformational Plan. Now, in respect of the first, Your Excellency, I'm sure you're all aware that our country has been seriously divided for many years because of partisanship. And unfortunately, this is robbing all of us of the benefits of our democratic credentials, which we've nurtured over so many years. And I think this ought to change. Secondly, this whole winner-takes-all syndrome, which has been associated with partisanship, I think is also not helping our country, because we don't have the benefit of harvesting and mobilizing the collective talents of all Ghanaians. And we should not be divided in that regard by our different political ideologies. I think that also needs to change. Thirdly, also, the lack of continuity of government projects, which again is the result of this partisanship, has also cost our nation quite a bit of money. And I think that also has to change. So I would really like, very respectfully, you to consider this whole development paradigm of how you build a government of national unity, which obviously then means that you bring together people from different political persuasions, big and small, people from other stakeholder groupings, because I think they also represent, indeed, in fact, they represent the majority of the people. So they must have a voice also in government. So that's in respect of the first pillar. The second one is the Great Transformational Plan. Your Excellency, I know that during your first term in office, you had to go to the IMF. Increase or stability that comes along with being on an IMF program. So ultimately, you find that the numbers will start looking good. It's obvious that's part of the whole objective of a stabilization program. But then at the end of the program, unless there's a program of transformation, then you are likely to slide back into instability, which is what takes you to the IMF in the first place. And so with a great transformational plan, I very respectfully like to recommend a number of priorities for your consideration, which is stabilizing the macroeconomy. I know that because of our manifesto promises, there's a lot of pressure. Everything is important, but I feel that it's the macroeconomy and the economy as a whole that basically must occupy your highest consideration. Aligned with this, also, I would say a prioritization of the productive sectors of our economy: industry, agriculture, and then tourism, because that speaks to the next most critical agenda for our nation, which is creating employment, particularly for the youth. Now, beyond this, also, I think, is the issue of corruption, which you've spoken about, and which robs us as a country of so much resources that we can channel into development. The next is constitutional reform. Constitutional reform that would enhance the quality of governance in our country. And I'm sure you're already aware of many of those areas that require reform. And last but not the least is the issue of Galamsey, which obviously is an existential threat. It's not just a question of those living in Galamsey communities. This is something that is going to affect all of us as Ghanaians. So, very respectfully, I think that these two development paradigms, I would recommend that you look at them quite seriously. And within the context of a government of national unity, we are prepared to provide all the support that is required for you to be able to implement both the agenda for transformation and also the government of national unity. Your Excellency, in conclusion, I think the greatest legacy you can leave for our country is to help build a peaceful, united, prosperous country which provides equal opportunity to all Ghanaians, irrespective of their political affiliation, ethnic or religious affiliation. We wish you very well together with your team.
Thank you.
And I think on that regard, I'd like to make a presentation of the great transformational plan to you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome you, and to say how much I appreciate this visit, to physically express what you had already done by phone. We spoke on the phone and you extended your congratulations, but I think this follow-up with members of your team is significant, and we appreciate it very much.
Welcome to How to
Campaign and the election. The difficult part now begins, and as our traditionally say, many heads are better than one. And you've properly analyzed the challenge of our democracy, and that is that we cannot harness all the human resource we have to be able to move the country in the direction that we want to go. At any one time, the party that wins and its supporters and functionaries are rowing in one direction, and another part of the country is wishing that that party fails so that they can have the opportunity at the next election to be able to come into government, and to create a situation where all of us, or the majority of us, are rowing in the same direction. Then it means that the canoe in which we are will just continue to be in the same place, or even if it moves forward, it will not move at an optimal speed that guarantees prosperity and dignity for all our people. since 1992, we have implemented the fourth Republican democracy under the 1992 Constitution. And I believe that it is based on multi-party democracy. And so the strength and health of political parties is at the core of our democracy. And so one would, even though we're opponents, wish that, the parties that are on the other side of the divide are healthy, and that, they also have their democratic systems working, and that they contribute their quota on whichever side of the divide, government or opposition, they contribute their quota to national development. So we can't be happy with the current situation in the NPP, and I hope that they'll quickly recover from this dramatic loss that they have suffered and then put their act together. We could see it coming, and I've been in politics long enough to realize that there was something wrong in the NPP. I remember clearly, and some people have played it over again, our friend Mustafa Hamid, who was advising me at the time that if you reach a stage where you cannot be advised, then there's something wrong, wallahi. I think that unfortunately he didn't have that same advice for the leadership of his party, because it got to a point where democracy in the NPP really, was not what we've been used to and what we all knew, and so it was obvious that they had become tone deaf in terms of what was happening in the country. People's complaints and all that, I don't think that it really penetrated, because this was the easiest election to predict. They should have seen a loss coming. I saw Vice President Bawumia saying that they are disappointed because they had worked hard enough, and so they thought they were going to win. It was obvious that they were going to lose this election. That meant that they were not in tune with the reality on the ground. We know that there have been some issues that led to your leaving the party, and there have been other things that have occurred over the years. I think that sometimes disruption is a good thing, because then it allows a new beginning. And so I think that all the strands that belong to that tradition, should find a way of